20% of those players, their entire NHL career will just be that hockey season. So maybe it's one game, like you said, or maybe it's all 82 games in that regular season. But it's only 4 months of their lives, or 5 months of their lives, or 6 months of their lives. They have to go on and do something else besides being known as an NHL hockey player. And having a degree or having a college education isn't the be-all, end-all attributors to success, but it certainly doesn't hurt your ability to do something outside of your playing career as you go forward.
Welcome to Mitlin Money Mindset, your weekly dose of inspiration and insights to ensure you enjoy each step of your journey. Whether you're saving for the future, planning your next big adventure, or simply looking to add more joy to your life, you've come to the right place. Now, let's dive in.
I'm Larry Sprung, your host for the Mitlin Money Mindset and founder and wealth advisor of Mitlin Financial. Today's guest is Sean Hogan, the Executive Director of College Hockey Inc. Sean Hogan is a dedicated leader and passionate advocate for the growth and development of college hockey. As the Executive Director of College Hockey Inc., Sean plays a pivotal role in promoting and advancing NCAA hockey across North America. Under his leadership, College Hockey Inc. has expanded its reach, connecting aspiring players with opportunities to pursue both their athletic and academic dreams. With years of experience in coaching and hockey development, Sean brings a wealth of knowledge to his role, helping to shape the future of the sport and ensuring that college hockey remains a vital pathway for young athletes. His work is instrumental in fostering the next generation of talent and creating a thriving environment for the game. Join us as we explore Sean Hogan's journey, learn about the impact of college hockey on the broader sports landscape, and gain valuable insights into how passion, strategy, and vision drive success. Today, we have the Executive Director of College Hockey Inc., Sean Hogan. And as you all know, I love talking about the entrepreneur journey. I love talking about hockey. I love talking about joy. So welcome to the show, Sean.
Thanks, Larry. I've been excited to do this. I've seen it on my calendar for the last couple of weeks and just really excited to be involved. And I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you and get this time with you to chat today on what College Hockey Inc. is and what you guys are doing today. But before we do that, can you tell us a little bit about who Sean Hogan is and your path up into becoming the executive director of College Hockey Inc.?
Yeah, absolutely. I would describe myself as someone who's deeply passionate about college sports in general, and I'm an advocate of the college hockey development path, and it's something that occupies most of my days and most of my thoughts outside of my family. So the first word that would describe me is just passionate about the subject matter. I was real fortunate to have a small snippet of college hockey experience, played college hockey at Iona, graduated from Michigan State University, and then fell into coaching kind of haphazardly, to be honest. If you would ask me back in my 20s if I'd ever coached, I would say yes, but it'll probably be my son's teams or my daughter's teams. Being involved in youth hockey, but was able to start at the ACHA level coaching college club hockey and became deeply passionate about that avenue and those experiences and that college hockey experience for those athletes, and started at Oakland University where we were fortunate to win some national championships, and then started becoming a youth hockey director at the same time, and then coached some junior hockey in Wyoming, of all places. I'm from Michigan, so I had an opportunity to kind of uproot everything I was doing and coach full-time junior hockey in Wyoming. And then was real fortunate, I think a big break in my career, and just big break as a person in my personal development. I was able to spend a year as a volunteer assistant coach at Western Michigan University under head coach Jeff Blashill. Blashill went on to be the head coach of the Red Wings, and he's an assistant coach in Tampa Bay now in the NHL. But that, for me, was a real eye-opening experience because it was NCAA Division I hockey with an outstanding coaching staff. Pat Ferschweiler was one of the assistant coaches there at the time. He's the current head coach at Western Michigan. But for me, in terms of my development as a person, my development as a coach, my development as a leader, that was real instrumental in my development path. And then from there, I went back to coaching ACHA hockey, something I was, like I said, deeply passionate about. Coached at University of Arizona and Ohio University, and Then was able to do had some work with USA Hockey, was the head coach of the World University Game team, and assistant coach as well in Italy, Kazakhstan, and Spain. So was able to really develop again as a coach and a person in that experience. And then life changes, right? Things happen. Got married. I was at Ohio University. My wife was working in the athletic department. We had our first son. She got a great opportunity at Michigan State University, where I got my degree, and I said we really need to explore that for you and jump at that opportunity. So my wife works here at Michigan State University. I live in East Lansing. She works in the athletic department, and during that transition, a position opened up at College Hockey Inc. I did not know the staff of College Hockey Inc. Did not know Mike Snee or Nate Ewell at the time. Applied, went through the process, and was fortunate enough to be named the director of education at the time, where I was responsible for all of our events, the point of contact for players, coaches, agents, and advisors. And again, over time, grew the role, grew in my experience, and Mike Mike Snee, the previous executive director, moved on to the NHL, and I was able to fill those big shoes of Mike Snee and become the executive director of College Hockey Inc. So maybe a longer answer than you were looking for, but I have a variety of experiences, mostly in hockey. But like I said, I would describe myself as someone who's very passionate about college sports and college hockey in particular.
Yeah, a lot of hockey experience there. And, to remind our listeners, because they have heard, Mike on the show before, and, Sadie most recently, who's in charge of the women's hockey arm of College Hockey Inc. She was just recently on episode 198 of the show.
Yep.
But can you share with our listeners, what is the mission of College Hockey Inc.? So, just to reacclimate them.
So we do a variety of things, and that's a great question. I think sometimes there's confusion as to what we do. I mean, the basic mission for a long time was just to make sure families and players, coaches, agents, advisors, really anybody who has contact with young players, fully understand the benefits of pursuing college hockey and pursuing the college hockey development path. But really, we've grown into doing a variety of things. We're the organization that partners with NCAA Division I athletic departments, and we work with those athletic departments to try to create more Division I hockey teams, men's and women's. The good news for everybody is that outreach project is working. You've seen some schools recently at NCAA Division I hockey, and we're going to have some more in the future. That's through a partnership we have with the NHL. We can provide these schools a feasibility study at no charge if they're interested in adding college hockey. And we're starting to expand to the Division III level as well. So that's great for everybody. It's more opportunities for players, more opportunities for coaches, more of an opportunity for players to choose college hockey and hopefully have an opportunity to earn a scholarship. So that's one of the things that we do. We also are an organization that's a leader in the research on college hockey. What I mean by research is if you come to one of our events and you're a young player and you have questions about how to play or how to get to NCAA hockey, we'll really show you what it looks like where players are playing at 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, the age of when commitments really happen, the number of players playing high school hockey versus AAA hockey. And it really does shatter a lot of myths that are out there with families. So you'll really have a good understanding of what the path to college hockey looks like for where you're from, right? It's not just generic to all 2,000 players playing NCAA hockey. It's if you're from Ontario, it'll be specific from Ontario. If you're from Michigan, it'll be specific for players from Michigan. So that's another thing that we do. But again, at our core, we're an education organization. We're here to educate the young aspiring player, educate their parents, their coaches, any advisors they're working with, on the benefits of pursuing college hockey and how it'll get you to the highest levels of the world.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a second. What do you think are the most critical things for parents and for players to understand about the hockey journey? Because it is a unique one.
Yeah, I just think it's very important to understand when things happen. The average commitment age for players playing NCAA Division I hockey in the men's side is about 19 years old. And now I know we all know players who earn commitments at 16 years old at the earliest possible time. But that's not the normal recruiting process. And what happens when a young player makes a commitment like that? That's great for that player. That's great for that family, for sure. But what it does is it creates this wake of anxiety around that player and the families that play with or against that player. And then families start thinking, well, where's my son's commitment? This is when things are supposed to happen, not realizing that that's not the typical age at which things happen. For most players that play NCAA Division I hockey, they're going to play, depending on where they're from, they're going to play either high school hockey or AAA minor hockey through their eligibility, like through their senior year or through 18-year AAA hockey. And then they'll play junior hockey at 18 and 19 years old. And that is when, for most players, the college hockey recruiting process will begin. We get contacted all the time from parents of 13 and 14-year-old young players saying, hey, do I need to reach out to college coaches? What do I need to do to ensure my son a college scholarship? And it's just really good for us to be able to back up what we say with the research that we do and say, hey, hold on. Right now, all your son needs to do or your daughter needs to do is focus on school, focus on being a good hockey player. And when he's 16, 17, 18 years old, then he can lift his head up, look around and say, okay, where am I in this process? And what will my next steps be?
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And, it's something that, especially in our sport, the sport of hockey, you can't really push, the development needs to have its time and effort to be able to kind of work itself out. And, one of the other things that we're seeing, around the NCAA landscape, and that path is, rapidly changing, especially around, name, image, and likeness. How can people find reliable information around, NIL or name, image, and likeness?
Well, that's a great question, because it is very murky right now, and it's not intentionally murky. Nobody's trying to make it murky.
It's new.
It's new, and the legislation that's passed makes it difficult. If you have questions about NIL, we're an outstanding resource for that. By no means are we experts on the subject matter, but we could happily answer those questions. But if you're a current college athlete, the best place would obviously be your compliance department at your university, or if you're being a recruited student athlete, the compliance department at the school that is recruiting you. But it's definitely changed the landscape on a lot of things. It's an opportunity for players, and I think the original intention of it was a very good one. That high-end college athletes have the ability to make money off their name, image, and likeness, and that makes sense. Now, what it's kind of turned into, and what we don't want it to be, is a pay-to-play type environment. But I am confident there will be legislation put in place, either through congressional legislation or the NCAA will continue to work in this direction to kind of get our hands all the way around it.
Yeah, and I think your point is, appropriately taken. You have to know what you're working with and at least understand the framework of it before you go diving in, because you can end up in a world of hurt if you do it the wrong way potentially. So yes. So listen, in what is now, I call it the alphabet soup of junior hockey. You have the BCHL, the OHL, the USHL, the NAHL, the SGHL, the SJ, the USPH, NC. How do parents and players grab kind of a handle on what all of this means?
Great question. So again, this is what we're a free resource. And one thing I need to make clear here is College Hockey Inc. is a 100% free resource 100% of the time. We're not here to serve as anybody's agent or anybody's advisor. But if you have questions about this subject matter, absolutely reach out to us. There's never a charge for what we do. So that being said, again, we're a great resource for that information. It's important for parents to understand, and I don't know how deep we'll get into this, but there are 3 leagues in North America called the CHL. The players are not eligible for college hockey. The OHL, the WHL, the QMJHL. Players that participate in those leagues under the current rule structure are not eligible for NCAA hockey.
If we just go off on a tangent for a second, and
Yep.
under the current rule structure, but we also know that that's being challenged as we speak right now, right? Isn't that something that's being challenged?
Correct. Yeah, this has been in discussion for years. Whether CHL players should be eligible for college hockey. There is a class action lawsuit that was filed maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago in New York about that eligibility, and what's important to understand, though, from a college hockey perspective and from a player perspective and a family perspective, is as much as there has been talk about this, that rule has not changed. So if you sign or you play or participate in the CHL, you are not eligible for college hockey. Now, that may change in the future, but if it does, there still is no guarantee that will be retroactive for all players that are currently in the league or participated in the league in the past. It might just be a future thing. So the best advice that we can give families now is if you want to play NCAA hockey, what I consider the best development path in the world on your road to the NHL, you need to make sure that you play college eligible junior hockey.
Okay. Before we jump into college eligible junior hockey, I'm just curious for your thoughts.
Yep.
Does College Hockey Inc. have a stance on whether or not those players in the CHL should have still a path to NCAA or no?
Great question. So our role is we do not have a stance. While we do a lot of research on it, and we can talk about things that may or may not happen. Should those players be eligible? We need to make sure that we're educating on the current rule landscape. That's our role. Our role as an education organization is to make sure that we are sharing the facts of what the current situation is. And again, right now, players that participate in CHL hockey are not eligible for college hockey.
Imagine a relationship where financial conversations don't feel stressful, but actually bring you joy. We've designed a guide to help you have positive, meaningful money conversations with your partner. This isn't just another budgeting tool, it's a roadmap for building trust and connection. So if you're ready to start a joyful money journey with your partner, go to mitlin.us/couplesjoy and download your free guide. Transform your financial future together starting today. So, warning parents out there when you're looking and exploring junior hockey options. Currently, the CHL is not an option as a path to NCAA, but keep your eyes and ears open. So, let's now talk about the current path that is eligible to move on through NCAA hockey.
Yeah, well, I mean, for a young American player, most players, like I said, are going to play, depending on where you're from. If you're a Minnesota player, you're going to play high school hockey. Even if you're from Michigan, I think it was 24%, believe it or not. And most people listening from Michigan might not know that, but almost a quarter of the players playing NCAA Division I hockey from Michigan played high school hockey. But most of them played through their senior year of high school. So most players are going to play minor or youth hockey and exhaust their eligibility before they move on to the North American League or the USHL. Those two leagues in the U.S. for American players produce the most NCAA Division I players. The rest of the leagues, there's opportunity there, but most of those players will end up playing NCAA Division III hockey or ACHA hockey. And again, I was a Division III player. I coached ACHA for a long time. Fantastic college hockey experiences in both regards. But in terms of NCAA Division I hockey, the USHL and the North American League have produced the most players.
Amazing. Yeah. And listen, for those families out there who think your kids have to go Division I hockey, I agree with you, Sean. I'm a product of a club hockey program at Binghamton University, and my son is currently a club hockey ACHA player at Drexel. So,
great. Yeah.
they're great paths, and I would argue that some of the better ACHA programs can even be competitive, if not beat some of the D3 programs out there, and that's how competitive it is.
You're speaking my language.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm very passionate about that. Yeah.
Me too. So, one of the things you mentioned is, college hockey is a free resource. And you guys put out that 92% of NCAA hockey players will earn their degree, which I think is fantastic. They'll get their degree from their university. What do you think contributes to that factor being so high, or that figure being so high? And before you answer that, let me contrast this with data from the Educational Data Initiative that says among students at four-year institutions, the graduation rate is about 52% for most sports as a whole. The average is 52%. Yet NCAA hockey players is much higher than that, almost 100%, but not quite there, 92%.
Two quick things. One, and this just came out, it's now 93% on the men's side, so it's ticking up.
Right.
And then for female athletes, it's over 95%. But I think that there's a variety of reasons there. One being, and I try to explain this to families as much as I can, especially Canadian families, because maybe it's not fully understood. But being an NCAA Division I athlete in the U.S. for any sport is a big deal. And what I mean by that is you're going to be treated much different than a normal student on campus. It is in the best interest of the coach, the best interest of the athletic director, the best interest of the president of the university, that student athletes do well academically. So like I said, you're going to have every opportunity to not only achieve your athletic goals, but your academic goals as well, with extra study tables. Tutoring is available. Really everything that you need to achieve your academic success will be handed to you. And I think that's a big part of why the graduation rate is for sports in general is higher than the normal student population. But hockey in particular, you're just provided every opportunity to achieve athletic goals as well as academic goals.
Yeah, and I think to that point, let's talk about something else, right? The data out there shows that more players have played one game, just one game in the NHL than have played 1,000 games. So with data like that, we need players to start thinking about, even if they make it to the NHL level, they have the opportunity. The stats show there's a higher likelihood of them playing one versus 1,000 games. How do we get them thinking about what's next? Because most hockey players will have a next chapter to their career. They're not going to be like Jaromir Jagr with a 37-year career in professional sports, or even like a Sidney Crosby. Most of them are going to have much shorter careers than that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not here to douse any young player's dream of playing in the NHL. For example, 700 or so players woke up today as NHL players, right? So somebody has to make it. But it's really important to understand how difficult it is to play in the NHL, and really how difficult it is to have a career in the NHL. Most players, like you said, are going to have to do something else besides being known as an NHL hockey player. Because like you said, more players, there's roughly 400 players who play 1,000 games. Many more players play just one game in the NHL. And then 20% roughly every year, 20% of everybody that we see in the NHL on TV, on TNT or ESPN or for Canadian on CBC, 20% of those players, their entire NHL career will just be that hockey season. So maybe it's one game, like you said, or maybe it's all 82 games in that regular season. But it's only 4 months of their lives, or 5 months of their lives, or 6 months of their lives. They have to go on and do something else besides being known as an NHL hockey player. And having a degree or having a college education isn't the be-all, end-all attributors to success, but it certainly doesn't hurt your ability to do something outside of your playing career as you go forward.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I'm not trying to, minimize anybody's dreams. I'm a big proponent of that. And you never know unless you try and you go out there. But the likelihood of that, having that preparation, I think is very key. That, if you end up making it, great. But if you don't, at least having that backup career. And quite frankly, when I look as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, I look at resumes and I see people that have played even junior hockey or college hockey. I know right away that they have a specific work ethic. They understand, being part of a team. And I think there are such great attributes that even if you make it up and you just play that one game in the NHL, or you play 1,000, I think there's a component that is beneficial to employers when looking at that resume of a hockey player.
Absolutely. I think if you have the ability to interview or hire a former college hockey player, former college athlete, and one thing that you said, time management as an athlete in college is critical. You're doing much more than a normal student on campus, and I think that's a real good indicator of future success.
Yeah. So along these same lines, if you could speak with that young player who's saying, someday I'm going to play in the NHL, right? What would you say to that player?
Well, absolutely. Hold on to your dreams. Do whatever you can to continue to work hard. Understand when things happen as you're going through the development path. As we talked about, as College Hockey Inc. is a resource, but just know that having is good advice for anything in life. Having all your eggs in one basket can be difficult, and that's one of the best things about college hockey. Is that you have both avenues available to you. You're an NHL prospect for longer. You're an NHL prospect at 21, 22 years old while you're earning your degree. You still have the opportunity to make it to the NHL at the average rookie age of 23. So you're earning your degree at the same time as you're on the best development path in the world.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a second, right? 23, right? You mentioned earlier how parents start looking at 13, 14, 15 commitment ages, trying to rush the process. Yet there's a big delta between the average rookie age, rookie prospect at 23 and 13. I mean, that's almost 100% of that young child's life. So how do we talk to parents to help them understand that we don't, what do you have to say to the parents who may be thinking they need to rush the process? How do we educate them better so that they understand that big delta between 13 and 23?
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes what happens is, like I said, the average NHL rookie age is just over 23 years old. And I hear all the time, and I hear it from very smart people on TV. They'll say things like, the NHL is getting younger and younger. The NHL is getting younger and younger for one guy or two guys every 5, 6, 7 years who have the ability to play in the NHL as teenagers. Everybody else gets to the NHL at 23, 24 years old. And in fact, 2 or 3 players in the last 2 years made their NHL debuts at 28 years old. So it's important to understand, again, the reality of when things happen. So like I said, if I had the ability to just sit down a parent who had a high achieving 14-year-old, I'd say, hey, listen, he's 14 years old right now. He's passing players at this age. At 18, he might get passed. But what it looks like is you're going to play your 15-year-old hockey or your high school hockey, your 16 AAA hockey or your high school hockey. Likely your 18U AAA or high school hockey. Then he'll go play junior hockey at 18 and 19 years old. Then he'll have a college commitment between 18 and 19 years old. He'll play college hockey at 20, 21, 22, 23, earning his degree, bringing him right to that average NHL rookie age of 23 years old. Now, 1 in a million people are going to have the ability to play in the NHL as teenagers, but most of you aren't going to get there till you're 23, 24, 25 years old. And just understanding the age at which things happen is critical when navigating your child's athletic opportunities.
Yeah, I think the important thing at 13 is and up through those ages is just keep them interested. Make sure they're having fun, they're loving the sport, they're putting the work in needed to get better each and every day. Use James Clear atomic habits, 1% better each and every day, so that they're continuing to grow. Because so many people, that you see in a sport at 13, come 16, 17, they have other interests, and then all of a sudden they're going somewhere else, and it's not necessarily the sport itself. The interest starts to wane. So to get to those levels, I think even a Division I hockey player, you really have to be laser focused, and there has to be fun and almost a love for the game and a passion for it. You agree?
Absolutely. The best athletes in the world, again, regardless of sport, hockey as well, they're passionate about their sport because it's fun.
Right.
So one of the things I used to talk about when I was coaching, we wanted player-led teams, right? We want guys coming to the rink because they enjoy the process and it's fun. And if it's that, then a young player will start to take ownership in their own development because it's fun and it's something that they enjoy doing. And then once they take an ownership in their own environment, or their own development, the sky's the limit for that player's ceiling because they enjoy what they're doing. They're passionate about it. They're thinking about it all the time, thinking about ways to get better. But if the process isn't fun and going to the rink isn't fun, why are they doing it? Especially at 13, 14, 15 years old.
Yeah, I agree. So let's talk about, because I was talking your language earlier about the ACHA, club hockey, Division III, et cetera. Well, let's talk about that for a minute, right? In terms of, the number of ACHA programs that have come out in, recent years, there have been many more. There are definitely many more opportunities today to continue in college than there were around when I was looking to play, and I think you the same. What do you feel that has done to the sport itself, and how has that elevated, the path through college hockey, or to and through college hockey, I should say?
Well, we'll start with the ACHA. The amount of opportunity to have a great college hockey experience at the ACHA Division I level, especially, It is, I would advise all families to look very hard at both NCAA Division III and ACHA Division I as you're navigating what's best for your student athlete. I'll speak from my experience. I mean, when I was at University of Arizona, we played Arizona State. We had 6,000 people in the building. We averaged over 1,500 to 2,000 fans in a regular season game. When I was at Ohio University, I would rival those players' experience, their development opportunities there with really any program. I mean, we had the same strength and conditioning coaches as the football, baseball, basketball teams did. They had their own rink on campus. But that level of hockey, ACHA Division I or ACHA in general, really offers for us too at College Hockey Inc. growth opportunities. Because those successful programs, while it's not the be all end all that you have to have a successful club team to play NCAA Division I, it certainly doesn't hurt. And a lot of these big brand universities that have club hockey programs, successful ones, what that does is it creates questions for those fan bases. Why aren't we in NCAA Division I? And as people start thinking about it, they start looking into it, and that's when we can be part of that process and offer NHL feasibility studies for schools interested. And the same thing at the NCAA Division III level. Now, they won't be able to play in NCAA Division I, but those programs and those universities, those players have tons of opportunities at the professional hockey level. Several have gone on to play in the NHL. So if it ends up not being a fit for you at the NCAA Division I level, NCAA Division III and ACHA provide outstanding college hockey experiences. Well, you'll have opportunities at the next level if you work hard enough.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's just really, to wrap a bow around it, I really think that the club hockey and Division III, both of those have really elevated just the depth and the breadth of players, people being available to play, and just the game itself, and just, the competitiveness and the compete level is amazing. And, unless you start investigating that, you really don't know.
Yep.
You think club hockey, a lot of us think about club sports when we went to school, and it's a much different animal. And
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, and I assure you, I believe the same thing. You should check that out. So, Sean, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, and we ask each of our guests the same final question. I love talking hockey, so this brought me a lot of joy today. But the final question is, what did you do today that brought you joy and put you in the right mindset for success?
You know what? I'm extremely fortunate that every day I get to take my kids to school. I have a 5-year-old and 3-year-old. Actually, today's my son's last day of being 5. He'll be 6 tomorrow.
There you go. Happy birthday.
So being able to take them to school every day, and my son's in kindergarten and my daughter's in daycare, but be able to walk them to school or drive them to school and have those conversations in the morning, and just makes me super fortunate that I have a job where I'm allowed to do that. And every day that brings me joy. So lucky to be able to do that.
I love that, because that was one of the joyful things I enjoyed doing, was dropping my kids at school every day. And then, when my older son went to college and my younger son went to Minnesota to play hockey, that all ended. And I will tell you, to some degree, I still miss those days of hopping in the car and driving them each morning. There was some good nuggets that you got out of those morning rides, that stuck with you. So listen, we're going to have all of your information in the show notes, Sean, but if people want to connect with you, learn more about what College Hockey Inc. is up to and doing, what's the easiest and the best place for them to do that?
Yeah, collegehockeyinc.com. Again, keep in mind, everything we do is free. We're funded by the NHL to do what we do, to educate families about the college hockey process. And we're not here to be your agent, not here to be your advisor. We're just here to be a free resource for you.
Yeah, well, thank you on behalf of my family and my kids for doing what you guys are doing. And, we're thankful and grateful that we got the introduction to you and College Hockey Inc., because it's been helpful to us in navigating the journey. So I know it's going to be helpful to, all of our listeners who are listening, who may be on that hockey journey. So thanks again. Appreciate the time, and enjoy your day.
All right. Thanks, Larry. Appreciate it.
I want to thank Sean Hogan for being a guest on the Mitlin Money Mindset. Hockey is a sport I love, and the path for a student athlete looking to continue their playing in college is a complicated one. Sean Hogan and College Hockey Inc. have created a platform to provide information to both the family and the athlete so they can better navigate this process. Any hockey player looking to continue to play in college should connect with College Hockey Inc. for help in navigating this process. Sean Hogan and College Hockey Inc. can be found across most social media platforms. All of the contact information needed to find them can be found in the show notes.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Mitlin Money Mindset. Remember, it's not just about the money, it's finding joy in the journey and embracing the right mindset. If you love the show, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Don't forget to follow along for more tips and inspiration. Please visit the social links below to connect with Larry or his guests. Until next time, keep smiling, keep thriving, and remember to think about, what did you do today that brought you joy?
The opinions voiced in the Mitlin Money Mindset Show with Lawrence Sprung are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. No strategy ensures success or protects against loss. To determine what may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, financial or tax advisor prior to investing. Investment advisory services offered through CWM LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Guests on the Mitlin Money Mindset Show are not affiliated with CWM LLC.